ॐ दक्षिणास्य समारम्भा शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमा अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्ता स्मर्या गुरुपरम्परा श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणम् सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। परिज्ञानाश्रम श्रीगुरुशङ्कर परिज्ञानाश्रम शङ्कर सद्गुरु केशववामन कृष्ण पाण्डुरङ्ग आनन्द परिज्ञान गुरु सद्यो जात शङ्कर सद्गुरु गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्दधामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीम् यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्ररुद्रमरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैः वेदैः साङ्गपदक्रमोपनिषदैः गायन्ति यं सामगाः ध्यानावस्थिततद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनः यस्यान्तं न विदुःसुरासुरगणाः देवाय तस्मै नमः. So in the verses which we are discussing now, Lord Krishna is giving the very crux of Karma Yoga. And the three very important verses of Karma Yoga have been explaining what it is actually, what is the attitude of Karma Yoga was explained in the 47th verse. Karmani eva adhikaraha te ma phaleshu kadachana. You have a choice only over your action. You do not have any control or choice over the results of your action. Therefore, ma te sangostu karmani, at the same time, ma karma phala heturbhu. Therefore, may you not be the author or the hetu for the karma phalas, because that is not in your hands. In the sense, you are only a contributor to the karma phala, not the controller. But that doesn't mean that you should not do the karma. You should do the karma. That has to be done in that particular place at that time. Whatever is given to you, whatever you are meant to do, you have to do. And how do? You do it with the attitude of Karma Yoga. What is this attitude of Karma Yoga? The attitude is doing the karma with Ishwararpana Buddhi and accepting the karma phala with Ishvara Prasada Buddhi. Taking these two, Krishna explained the definition of Karma Yoga in the 48th verse and the 50th verse, which we saw already last time. So in the 48th verse, he said, Samatvam is one definition of Karma Yoga. What is Samatvam? Accepting whatever result comes, whether it is what I wanted, what I did not want, or something totally different from what I wanted. Whatever has come to me as the processed karma that I have executed, that karma phala I accept with equanimity, without judgment, without any kind of, my buddhi going here and there. Yes, I did my best. I offered my karma to the Lord, and whatever phala I am getting, the result is Lord's prasada karma phala, and I accept it. That is samatvam. And the next definition, you can't say next, but it's a composite definition. In the 50th verse, he said, Yogaha karmasu kaushalam. Okay. The last lines, the last quarter of 48th verse and the last quarter of the 50th verse. That is, Samatvam Yoga Uchyate, Yogaha Karmasu Kaushalam is the definition of Karma Yoga. Now, what is the meaning of Karmasu Kaushalam, which I already explained to you? It is not a mere skill or dexterity, but doing that karma which has to be done by me with an attitude that this is going to be my offering to the Lord. Now, when I do this karma with this particular attitude, yoga su kausalam, kausalam means whatever I do, it turns out best. When does it turn out? When does my karma turn out the best? Irrespective of what results it gets. When does it turn out to be the best? When I'm not all the time concentrating on phala abhisandhi. Phala abhisandhi means all the time I'm not thinking of the phala when I'm doing the karma. At the same time, I don't feel the physical or mental tiredness of having that particular karma done. Even if I'm physically tired, mentally tired, I'm still prasanna that this job I have done, in spite of physical and mental or emotional stress or tiredness. I have done my job. So I'm feeling very swastha. Swastha means what? I'm feeling very happy in whatever job I have executed. Now let's take an example of this particular thing. Supposing a musician, who is very, very having a great nishtha in whatever she's singing. She's an expert in whatever she's singing. She has a nishtha, and when she's singing, there is no question of any kind of a tiredness or there's any kind of an effort. It's an effortless singing where the person enjoys her singing, and with this effortless singing, which she herself enjoys, all the others who are listening are also enjoying it. So, karmasu kaushalam means I do the karma, whatever may be the type of karma, happily, not feeling the exertion of it physically or emotionally. And I feel a sense of well being when I do that karma. I do that karma for the sake of happiness that I'm getting out of this karma, and I offer it at the feet of the Lord. Okay, this is the karma that I have done happily, not complaining all the time. Oh Lord, I have to do this karma. My God, I have to do this. Okay, I have to do the arpana to you. I have to give this, offer it to you. Take it. No, that is not the way a karma done has to be offered to the Lord. It has to be offered with love and care and happiness. The happiness that I have got in doing that karma, and I share that karma or offer that karma to the Lord with all the peace and happiness, being swastha, being in my nature of purnatvam and happiness. So ultimately, this is what is called as the karma yoga. Now, we have to understand that Krishna talked about Atmagnana or knowing the self, the knowledge of the self, as really the ultimate thing that releases one from this samsara. He said that between the 12th and the 25th verses. But then he also knows that Arjuna is not prepared for this knowledge because he doesn't have that kind of a preparation of the intellect which he needs. And therefore, Krishna being a dharmic person, Krishna being very dear, Arjuna being a very dharmic person, Arjuna being very dear to Krishna, Krishna wants Arjuna to ultimately be free from this samsara and very much wants him to understand this Atma Vidya. And he also knows that Arjuna has to be prepared and his intellect has to be prepared with Karma Yoga. And so, right now, Krishna is giving more importance to Karma Yoga than Jnana Yoga. And in Moksha Shastra, it is a very, very beautiful and clear way of giving a stepwise fashion, what is called as the parampara of mukti. What is that? First of all, number one, step one, karma yoga. That is karma sukausalam, samatva buddhi, which I already explained now. I do the karma phala. What for? It takes me up till the jnanam or jnana yogyata prapti. It does not do anything else. It only gives me the preparation of the intellect. So I become a prepared intellect to get this knowledge. So step one, karma yoga. Step two, the result of karma yoga, jnana yogyata prapti. Then step three, I go into jnana yoga. What is jnana yoga? Once I'm prepared to receive this knowledge, then I have to understand the teaching of the Shastra, that is Vedanta Shastra, through a teacher, a qualified teacher, a teacher who's able to wield the Vedanta Pramana well and teach me exactly what Vedanta is trying to tell me about moksha. And the Jnana Yoga involves Shravanam, that is Guru Mukhena Shastra Shravanam. Whatever may be your intellectual level, whatever kind of a scholar one may be, but then Moksha Shastra is something that has to be heard through a guru only. Guru Mukhena Shastra Shavanam, and for a considerable period of time. It is not merely for 1 day or 2 days, it is for a considerable period of time. I listen to the Shastra Guru Mukhena. Then I have to mull over it, go on thinking about it, try to remove all my doubts by listening again and again to the Shastra, by asking the relevant questions to the Guru, which is called as a process of mananam. So there is Shravanam, there is mananam, and then there is a contemplation on whatever I have heard, the contemplation on what I have heard to make this knowledge assimilated in me. So, Shravanena, I get the knowledge. Mananena, I remove all the doubts, make it free of doubts. Samshaya rahita jnanam. After that, with contemplation, constant contemplation over whatever I have heard, whatever mananam I have done, what happens? This nididhyasanam ultimately frees me from my samsara, and jnanam gives me moksha. So, jnanattu eva kaivalyam. Jnanam alone gives me moksha, but there are other sahakari karanas also. Karma yoga is there, upasana yoga is there, which again Krishna is going to talk in detail later, because the second chapter is only, a kind of an introductory chapter where all the concepts are being introduced here. Now, so there is a parampara, karma yoga, chitta shuddhi, jnana yogyata prapti, jnana yoga in the form of shravana, manana, nididhyasana, and I am free. So this is actually the structure of the entire journey of a mumukshu from an ajnani to a jnani. Now, there is always a doubt here that, and many people, say this, and in many of the commentaries of Bhagavad Gita also, there is a misinterpretation about, these three yogas, that is Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, and unfortunately, many people use Bhakti also as a yoga and they call it as Bhakti Yoga. And I had a question saying that, how do I know what I am fit for? Am I fit for Bhakti Yoga? Am I fit for Karma Yoga? Am I fit for Jnana Yoga? And also there are some commentaries which say an emotional person has to go through Bhakti Yoga for moksha. A very, very rajasic or a karma oriented or an active person has to go through Karma Yoga. And an intellectual type of a person has to go to Jnana Yoga for moksha. Let me make it very, very clear. Please listen to this very carefully, that there is absolutely no choice of separate yogas. Bhakti, I'll tell you what bhakti is. Karma yoga has to be done by anybody, whether he's an emotional person or an intellectual person. The preparation of the intellect for this jnanam can happen only through karma yoga. That's the first step. Everyone has to go to jnana yoga, whether he's an intellectual person or a non-intellectual person who's an active person. Everyone has to go through jnana yoga, because ultimately jnana tu eva kaivalyam. And I have said it many times before that Jnana Yoga is not possible without Karma Yoga. Karma Yoga is incomplete without Jnana Yoga. And Moksha is not possible without the sequential approach to both of them. Karma Yoga first, Chitta Shuddhi, Jnana Yogyata Prapti, Jnana Yoga, Moksha. This is a very, very, very clear ladder which has been given in the scriptures, and nobody is exempt from that. Every one of us have to go through this ladder. Then where does bhakti come? What is this bhakti yoga? Now, just because the a chapter in Bhagavad Gita is named Bhakti Yoga, we cannot say that bhakti is a separate discipline. No, bhakti is an integrated discipline in both of them. To be a karma yogi, I have to be a bhakta, isn't it? What is bhakti? Devotion to the Lord. Okay? Trust in Lord. And if I have to offer my actions as a karma yogi to the Lord, if I have to accept the karma phala as the prasada of the Lord, can I do it without being a bhakta? To be a karma yogi, I have to be a bhakta. To be a jnana yogi, I have to be a bhakta. Why? This knowledge is not somebody else's knowledge. It is God's knowledge. It is Lord's knowledge. Lord Krishna, Lord Narayana himself in the form of Krishna is coming and giving this knowledge. If I don't have bhakti, if I don't have commitment, if I don't have devotion to that Lord, whose vidya is this knowledge? This knowledge itself is nothing but Bhagwan. And this knowledge is given by Bhagwan. And if I do not have the commitment and the devotion to this knowledge, to Ishvara, to Lord, where is the question of getting this? Therefore, bhakti is not a separate yoga. Bhakti is like an integral thread which goes right from the karma yoga to the end till mukti, and even a jnani is the bhakta paramount, par excellence. And Krishna says in the 12th chapter, Jnani Bhakta is my favorite because he is me only. He is Mama Atma Eva, me. He has realized that he is not different from me. Therefore, may you understand that there are no separate yogas like Karma Yoga for an active person, Jnana Yoga for this person. No. For everyone, Karma Yoga, step by step, Jnana Yoga, and Bhakti is to be there all through. Without bhakti, neither karma yoga is possible nor jnana yoga is possible. And very funnily, some people give an example also. This is a very common example given more to confuse. It is more of a confusion. So let us understand, like we understood the 47th verse, the way it has to be understood. Let us understand that there is no other go. This is the only way. Some people describe it and say, supposing there is a temple on the top of a hill. You can approach the temple through many paths. Fine. I can go from the east upwards. Somebody can come from the west upwards, south, north, any path, or in between any path. You can go in. Yes, that's all. You can go till the temple, reach the top of the hill by any path. Fine. Once you go to the top of the hill, to enter into the temple, there is only one door from which all people who have come from 100 different directions also have to get in through the same door to see the Lord, to have the darshan of the Lord. Therefore, seeing the Lord means mukti. If I want to be free from samsara, and Jnana Yogam is like the main door of the temple. Unless I get into the Jnana Yoga, there is no question of my getting out of my samsara. And bhakti is the commitment, and the karma yogi, whatever he does, Whatever karma he does, many paths means what? He may be a Vaidika doing a Vaidika karma. He may be a Kshatriya fighting his battle. It may be a homemaker who is doing her dharma as a homemaker. It may be a student who is doing the dharma of studying student. It may be a parent who is doing his or her, karma and dharma as a parent. All these are different paths. And karma yoga involves lot of these paths. Wherever you are, whatever karma you are doing this karma what for? With the devotion to the Lord and to attain this yogyata, jnana yogyata. Therefore, we have to understand one thing, that there is no question of different paths for different people. There is only one path, karma yoga, chitta shuddhi, jnana yogyata, jnanam, moksha. And whatever karma we are doing, wherever we are, whatever may be our varna ashrama, those are the different parts of climbing. As a climber, I am a karma yogi, and different karmas I'm doing, I'm climbing there. But once I get the yogyata, reaching the top of the hill, I've got the yogyata to enter into the temple, then all of us have to enter through one door, and there is only one sanctum sanctorum. There are no multiple paths. So understand, there are no multiple paths. All these three, karma yoga, jnana yoga, and bhakti, all are integrated. One is not possible without the other. One cannot be excluded from the other. They are not mutually exclusive disciplines. They are all mutually integrated disciplines. So I hope this point is very clearly understood. And mom who asked me this question yesterday, I hope he's satisfied with this answer, because this is the only answer that is given by Vedanta and also by all the Vedanta teachers. Now, once I have gone to the Jnana Yoga, after completing means after having enough of Chitta Shuddhi by Karma Yoga, what happens now? What is it that when once I get into the Jnana Yoga and Mukti, what are the steps that Karma Yoga takes me through is given by in the 52nd and 53rd verses. So we'll go to the 52nd verse, that यदा ते मोहकलिलं बुद्धिर्व्यतितरिष्यति तदा गन्तासि निर्वेदं श्रोतव्यस्य श्रुतस्य च. I touched upon this particular verse in the last class. Unfortunately, we couldn't have the video, but you must have heard the audio. And what does it say? That as a karma yogi, I'm still very confused about the means and ends. Now, so many people are telling me, you have to do this, you have to do this. Veda Purva is giving me so many means and ends. If you do this, you will get this. If you do this particular karma, you will get that particular result. So, there is a lot of confusion. Though I have got the Vyavasayatmika Buddhi, that my ultimate goal is moksha. But then, what should be done? What should not be done? Like the confusion about the various paths which we talked about. There is so much of confusion about what should I do as a karma yogi, what I should not do as a karma yogi, and where does it lead me. So many confusions are there. So many confusions about what the Veda Purva, or the ritualistic portion of the Veda Purva tells me that there are hundreds of means to attain hundreds of ends. But what are those means and ends? They are in the material world. You do this particular thing, you get this particular benefit, a material benefit in this material world, and also in the world after death. So now there is so much confusion about that. But then what does this karma yoga help me to do? The buddhi, you have to read here, buddhihi moha kalilam vyatitarishyati. So what does karma yoga help me to do? It helps my buddhi, it helps my intellect to cross over its own confusions. Moha means confusion. Kalilam means the dirt and the slush. See, if you have to cross, a portion of the road which is very slushy in this rainy season, that is the comparison given for how the buddhi is confused, kalushitam, how it is completely confused by moha as to what is to be done, what is not to be done. So he says that Karma yoga ultimately helps my buddhi moha kalilam vyatitarishyati. It helps me to cross that. How does it help me to cross that confusion? Because I have understood while doing karma yoga that really what is there, means and ends, do not really matter to me. My ultimate goal, my vyavasayatmika buddhi, my purushartha nishchaya is towards the jnanam and moksha. Therefore, I have crossed over the confusion of the intellect, to do, not to do, when to do, what to do. And then what happens? Tada gantasi nirvedam. Tada gantasi nirvedam means what? I get a kind of a dispassion. Towards what? Towards the material ends and material goals which are given in the Veda Purva Shruti. Now, Shrotavyascha, Shrutasya cha. Now, there are two words given. Shrutasya, that which I have already heard in the Veda Purva, that you do this, you will get this result. You will do this, you do this, you get this result. What I have already heard. Yes, I know that this particular karma will give me this particular result. I already know this, but I am no longer attracted to that because my ultimate goal is that moksha, and that none of the intermediate goals I am interested except in Chitta Shuddhi and Jnana Yogyata Prapti. These are my only intermediate goals, and the ultimate goal is moksha. Therefore, I am no longer attracted by what I've heard earlier from the Veda Purva. Shrotavyasya cha. Shrotavyasya means what? That which probably I will listen later also. See, as a karma yogi, I already have some knowledge about, oh, you do this, this will happen, you will get svarga, you will get pitraloka, you will get this, you will get that, all that. But then I may not know so many things. As a karma yogi, I may come to know that, okay, there is something like this, Veda Purva says, or somebody tells me, you do this vrata, you will get this. You do this karma, you will get this. You do this tapas, you will get this. Somebody tells you, Shrotavya, that means that which is yet to be heard. So what does it mean? Karma yoga gives me a dispassion to the known means and ends, which give me only material ends, and yet to be known material ends, that is means and ends. So this is the first jump of karma yogi towards jnana yogyata prapti. Otherwise, if my mind is all the time thinking of what I can get, what I can do to get this, what I can do to get that, if all the time I am going around in that slush, jumping around in that moha or slush, where is the question of my chitta shuddhi and jnana yogyata prapti? So he says that this moha kalilam is crossed over by the buddhi, and then no longer am I attracted or distracted by the material means and ends. So here this is the first jump of karma yoga, which makes me capable of getting this jnanam. This is the stage of what is called as jnana yogyata prapti. Then what happens? In the 53rd verse, Krishna says, Shruti vipratipanna te yada sthasyati nischala samadhavachala buddhihi tada yogam avapsyasi. So this is the second jump now. What is the second jump now? Prepared intellect, jnana yogya, I go to jnana yoga. Now what happens? This is the second jump. Shruti vipratipannate. Shruti vipratipanna means those who are totally caught up in the Veda Purva. That is what Veda Purva on means and ends and material gains. Okay. When I reach this stage of Jnana Yogyata Prapti and I expose my intellect to Shravanam, Guru Mukhena, Shastra Shravanam, what happens then? My buddhi, this buddhi, sthasyati nischala. Without doubt, the buddhi is without doubt silent enough, doubtless, and able to take in whatever knowledge is being given. If my buddhi is all the time thinking of what more can I get in this material world? What more can I do to get more of this? If all the time I am distracted by that thought, then where is the question of understanding anything? So, doubtless state, in the sense, I have no doubt about the path I have followed. Why? Because as a karma yogi, I am a bhakta and I have followed karma yoga as described by Bhagavan, as described by the Shruti. And therefore, there is no doubt in my mind that this is the correct path I am into. Therefore, buddhihi sthasyati nischala. Sthasyati means it stands without any confusion and it is able to focus and concentrate. Nischala means samshaya rahitaha. My buddhi is not getting, running here and there with doubts. It is nischala buddhihi. Then what he says is samadhau achala. This buddhi is both nischala and samadhau achala. Samadhau means what? In jnanam. Samadhi here does not mean the Ashtanga Yoga Samadhi, Nirvikalpa Samadhi. No, here Samadhi means Atma or Atmajnanam, and this Buddhi stands achala, without any movement and without any kinds of habitual thinking patterns. It is called as Viparyaya. Doubts are called Samshaya, and my, you know, habitual thinking patterns like I am the body, I am the sense complex, I am the mind, this is mine, I am this. These are all some habitual thinking patterns that I have. And when a jnana yogya, the one who has got the jnana yogyata prapti, gets into jnana yoga, then the buddhi gets stably established in this atmajnanam. It becomes viparyaya rahita. Nischala buddhi samshaya rahita buddhihi. Without any doubts. And achala buddhihi, abiding in the knowledge, in that knowledge which I am getting, and ultimately my habitual thinking patterns of ahankara and mamakara are gone. And this is called as the jnana yoga. Tada yogam avapsyasi. Now, what is this yoga here? This yoga means jnana yoga has been successful in you. As a karma yogi bhakta, as a jnana yogi bhakta, you have concentrated your buddhi without any doubts, without any habitual thinking patterns of viparyaya. Tada, this buddhi, yogam avapsyasi, you will attain this yoga. What yoga? The results of jnana yoga, what is called as moksha. So now what has Krishna told from, the last few verses? Generally, he explained about Karma Yoga. Then specifically, he talked about Karma Yoga, the attitude of Karma Yoga in verse 47. And then he talked about the definitions of Karma Yoga in the 48th verse to the 50th verse and 51st verse, which I have explained in the last class. And in the 52nd and 53rd verse, the phalam of Karma Yoga was talked by Krishna to Arjuna. And why did he do this? Because he wants Arjuna to go the right way. Arjuna asked for that knowledge. What is it that frees me from this samsara? Krishna said, no doubt, Atmajnana alone frees you from this samsara. But Arjuna, you can't have shortcuts to this. You have to go through the proper way. You have to climb the sopana or the steps the way they are meant to be. Then only you will get this. And therefore, he spoke about Karma Yoga in a way that Arjuna and we people can understand. Now, what is the phalam of this Karma Yoga, Jnana Karma Yoga, Yogyata Prapti, Jnana Yoga, and then Mukti? A person who has attained this, has gone through this whole ladder of yoga, whole ladder of what you call the sadhana for moksha, whatever is it. A person who has ultimately attained this goal, whose buddhi is constantly abiding in that Atma Swarupa, such a person is called as a jnani, sthita prajna, sthira prajna, sthita dhihi, munihi, jivan muktaha, sadyo muktaha, vidwan, brahmavid. All these are the names given for a person who has attained or who has abided in his Atma Swarupam, the one who has successfully gotten the Atma Jnanam. Such a person is called as a Sthita Prajna. So after explaining the Karma Yoga, now Krishna gives a little time to Arjuna, because now Arjuna's curiosity is stirred by Krishna as to, okay, tada yogam avapsyasi. You abide in that Atma Swarupa, which is again called as yoga here. Here, yoga is, talked about in various ways. But here, the last line here, yogam avapsyasi, means this mumukshu has completed his journey and now he's abiding in his Atma Swarupa. Naturally, Arjuna wants to know what are the features or lakshanas of this Sthita Prajna. So next, the previous verse is like a bija bhuta. That means it is a seed for Arjuna to ask the next question. So in the next few verses, Arjuna is asking, what is a what are the, how do I know who is a jnani? Does a jnani have a halo around him so that when you look at him, you can make out? No. A jnani is like any one of us. He's wherever he's doing all his karma. He's very, very natural. There's really nothing unnatural about him. He also does his karma that he has to do. He also will plan for whatever has to be planned. He will also probably, have reactions in his mind that normally any mind will have. But then, what is the difference between a Sthita Prajna Jnani and an Ajnani or a Mumukshu? The next few verses are talking about the Sthita Prajna Lakshanas. And it is said that a Sthita Prajna is a model. He's a model, role model for a Mumukshu who is a Karma Yogi Bhakta, let me say, Bhakta bar Karma Yogi and a Jnana Yogi. This is a model. This is some, I can emulate a Sthita Prajna. So it is said that Sthita Prajna Lakshanani Tani Mumukshoho Sadhanani. The Lakshanas or the characteristics of a Sthita Prajna or a Jnani are the sadhanas that can be emulated and followed by an Ajnani or by a Mumukshu, not an Ajnani. A Mumukshu who has done the Vyavasayatmika Buddhi and Purushartha Nishchaya, he's already got into the stepwise, Paramparyena, he's going from Karma Yoga onwards, which I've already explained. For such a person, Sthita Prajna Lakshanas are the sadhanas and he can emulate. So now Arjuna asks this question here. What does he say? Sthita prajnasya ka bhasha samadhisthasya keshava sthitadhi kim prabhasheta kimasita vrajeta kim. So since Arjuna knows now that there is this jnani who has reached that final step and he is now what his final goal has been achieved. Whatever that final goal is, he has achieved that. And he is abiding in his own jnana swarupam. Samsara is no longer a bondage for him. He is free from samsara. So, in whom sthita prajna, that means prajna or knowledge has become sthira. That means this knowledge has become strong and he is able to abide in this knowledge. So, sthita prajnasya ka bhasha. So, now this jnani or Sthita Prajna, what is the description of this Sthita Prajna, Krishna? How do I recognize a Sthita Prajna? Bhasha means description. Sthita Prajnasya ka bhasha. What is the description of such a person who has followed this system that you have told me and ultimately got out of samsara? What is his description? Samadhistasya Keshava. Who is Samadhi? What is Samadhistha? The one who is established in his own true nature, Atma Sarupa. So Sthita Prajna, Samadhistaha. Next verse, Sthita Dihi. All these are Paryaya Padas. They're all synonyms for the same person. And it is used in various words, in various contexts. We have to understand that they all refer to a jnani. Okay, so Sthita dihi kim prabhasheta. How does he communicate with other people? How does he talk with other people? How does he transact with the other people in the world? Just because he is a jnani, is he sitting like a dodo somewhere? Is he a person, who is, like a zombie, not doing anything, sitting and absolute closing his eyes? And no, a jnani is probably more active than a mumukshu. And a jnani probably is able to do the karma in a much better way. Karma su kaushalam is a sadhana for a karma yogi, but for a jnani, it is his natural response to any karma. That is naturally how he acts or how he takes on the karma. So he says, Sthita di kim prabhasheta. That means, how does he, transact in this world? Kima sita. How does he sit? See, ultimately, Arjuna's question is to know how does he conduct his vyavahara. Are there any special features of this Sthita Prajna, or they are merely to be seen in the attitude of this person? Kima Sita, how does he sit? Vrajeta Kim, how does he walk? No, we have to only understand that this question is asked by Arjuna to know how a Sthita Prajna behaves in the society, how does he conduct his transactions in the society. And for that, Shri Bhagavanu Vacha. Now, Krishna is going to answer his questions for the next 7 or 8 verses and describes the lakshanas or the characteristics. And these characteristics are not physical characteristics of a Sthita Prajna. These characteristics are not in the way he talks, the way he walks, the way he sits, the way he sleeps. No. These are the characteristics of his attitude in a particular situation. And unless you are with the Sthita Prajna, you may not be able to identify a Sthita Prajna. It is only by how his attitude is towards everything that he does that a person can recognize, yes, this is a Sthita. Look at his attitude, which is so different from my attitude. Otherwise, there are no lakshanas which can identify a Sthita Prajna. So what does Krishna say now about the Sthita Prajna? He says in the 55th verse, Prajahati yada kaman sarvan partha manogatan atmanyevatmana tushtaha sthita prajnastadochate. Hey Arjuna, remember one thing, that a mumukshu and an ajnani, we are all still dependent on the world outside, on the objects of the world, situations of the world, jagat, people of the world, for our happiness. Normally, we depend, isn't it? For our emotional security, for my psychological well being, emotional well being, social well being, for my happiness. Though I am the Atma Swarupa, Sukha Swarupa, I depend upon others, on things outside me to give me this fulfillment, fullness, happiness. But who is this jnani? Atmanyeva atmana tushtaha. See the second line. Atmani eva atmana tushtaha means he does not require any object or person or situation in the outside world to give him any kind of a fullness or happiness. Why? Because he has recognized that that very happiness, that very fullness, that very purnatvam he is looking for outside is within him in total quantity. We saw that in the previous verse, 46th verse, Yavan artha udapane sarvatah samplutodake. So when the whole place is full of water, what have I got to do with a small well or a small pond for water? Similarly, a person, a Sthita Prajna who is abiding in his Sukha Swarupa Atma, Ananta Purnatva Ananda Swarupa Atma, as a result of this, this whole exercise that he has done from being a Karma Yogi to Jnana Yogi to Jnanam, he is Atmaini Eva Atmana Tushtaha. He is self-sufficient emotionally, psychologically. If the outside world gives him happiness or not, it does not matter. Apuryamanam achala pratishtam, it is said. That is, an ocean does not depend upon the rivers to come into it to become full. It does not depend on the rain to make it full. It is Apuryamana Machal. The ocean is the very fullness itself. It does not depend on outside things to make it better. Similarly, Atmanyeva Atmana Tushtaha. This Sthita Prajna is Atmanyeva, in himself, Tushtaha, Santushtaha, self-sufficient, happy, and therefore he does not care for anything. Little bits of these tiddly biddly bits of happiness that one gets from, you know, world out, the material world outside. So what happens here in such a person? He sarvan manogatan kaman prajahati. Sarvan, all. Manogatan means the, that those which arise in the mind. Manogatan kaman, all those desires, binding desires which arise. Manogatan kaman sarvan prajahati, gives up. He does not have to give up. They drop by himself. When he sees, when he is experiencing the very fullness in himself, where is the question of his depending upon those kamas, arthas of the outside world for any additional happiness? The cup is full. He is full of that happiness. He is happiness Swarupa himself, abiding in it. So, all the desires for the objects of the world outside drop away from him. That is Prajahati. He does not have to give up. A Karma Yogi has to make an effort with Shama, Dama, Uparama to give up. Okay, whereas a Jnani does not have to make any effort. He sees himself as the Purnatva Swarupa. All these Manogatan, Kaman, Sarvan, Prajahati, they just drop away. Now we have to understand another thing here. Does that mean that a Jnani does not have any desires at all? No, that is also wrong. A Jnani will also have desires. What kind of a desires are they? They are not the desires that bind him. They are non-binding desires. They are preferences, which I told you last time. No desire binds a Jnani. In the sense, a Jnani may have a desire to teach. Krishna had a desire to teach Arjuna. Krishna had a desire that Arjuna should fight the war. Krishna had a desire that dharma should be re-established. Dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge, he said. Why? He also had a desire. What kind of a desire is it? Shubha Icha. So that I can benefit, the others can also benefit, which is called as Loka Sangraharte. I will do something, I have a desire to do something which will reach out to people, which will help people, which will help in, increasing the or elevating the spiritual and, material growth of the society around me. This kind of a desire can be had by a Jnani also. What are all our gurus doing? That is what it is, They also have a desire for the abhyudaya of the society, community. They also have a desire that the community should grow spiritually and be eligible for this jnana. That is a desire. It is a shubha ichha. So, what happens here? Ichha is there, kamas are there. They are not ashubha kamas, they are shubha kamas. They are not binding kamas, they are preferences. And they are having these kamas for the sake of the general good, not only for the individual good. So, this Sthita Prajna, the first feature, Atmani eva Atmana Tushtaha, the one who is self-sufficient emotionally and does not have to depend upon the outside world or the world of objects for his fulfillment, and whatever he does out of fulfillment, out of happiness. How do we do anything? For fulfillment. When I do something, I want to get this, I want to get that. All the time, phala abhisandhi. What for? I want to feel happy with either the phala that I get. No, here, the difference between a mumukshu and a sthita prajna is, a mumukshu does all the actions for fulfillment, for purnatvam, for ananda. Whereas the sthira prajna, sthita prajna does all the actions out of fulfillment, out of ananda, out of sukha. And they are all shubha ichhas there. Next verse we'll go to. दुःखेषु अनुद्विग्नमनाः सुखेषु विगतस्पृहः वीतरागभयक्रोधः स्थितधीर्मुनिरुच्यते. दुःखेषु अनुद्विग्नमना, Sukheshu vigata sprihaha. Dukha means what? Unconducive circumstances. Because Krishna has already told, Matra sparshastu kaunteya shitoshna sukha dukkada. Whenever this body mind sense complex is, doing vyavahara with the world outside, the sense organs, the senses are going to experience good situations, sukha situations, and dukkha situations. So, sukha and dukkha are there. But what are they? They are not the dharmas of me, the Atma. Okay? Sukha dukkha atita Atma ahamasmi. Purnatva swarupa Atma ahamasmi iti the jnani knows. All this will be explained later. What is the sukha dukkha rahita, atma ahamasmi, that all in jnana yoga and other further yogas it will be explained. So dukkheshu anudvignamana. That means in the situations and circumstances of dukkha or unhappiness, the jnani or the sthita prajna does not lose his cool. Udvega, there is no udvega. There is no udvega means what? There is no suffering. That jvara which is there in the mind, that is not there. That santapa is not there. So dukkheshu anudvignamana, sukheshu vigata sprihaha. Just because things are perfectly all right, he is not carried away by sukha. He is not carried away by conducive circumstances. Neither does he get put down or pulled down by, unfavorable circumstances outside, nor completely taken off, carried away with good circumstances, happy circumstances. Why? Because he knows that all these polar opposites are agama payi and anitya. We saw that, isn't it? Agama payino anitya tan titikshasva bharata matra sparshasu, in that particular verse. So the jnani not simply knows, but it has become a sthira jnanam in him that whatever sukha dukkha situations are meant only for the body mind sense complex, they come and they go. It does not matter to me. Therefore, who is he? Vita raga bhaya krodaha. Vita means the one who's not unduly affected, or the one without. Without what? Raga. Raga we have already seen. Raga, Shoka, Moha is Arjuna's Vishada, we have already seen in the first chapter. So here the same samsara is explained by Krishna in three ways. Raga, undue entanglement or attachment with the world outside. Raga, bhaya. When you have that undue attachment or entanglement with the world outside, there is always that fear that either that will go away from me or I will go away from it. Oh, I may lose it, I may lose it, I may lose it. So Vairagya, I said as last time, the capacity or the preparedness or the willingness to lose anything that is losable, that is Vairagya. When I have it, I enjoy it. I give it my due. I give it my respect. Take it as Ishvara's blessing. Enjoy whatever is given to me. Dharmically. And I'm willing to lose it when the time comes. If it has to be lost, it will be lost. Because anything that is losable is not me. Anything that is losable is anatma. And anatma is always losable. That which is non-losable, that which is always, is I, the Atma. So, Vita, the who is without, Raga, undue attachment, Bhaya, the fear of, losing the objects of my Raga, Krodha. And the Krodha means the anger of losing, anger after losing it or not getting what I want. This is it. Now, do you mean to say that a jnani does not have raga or bhaya or krodha? Whatever bhaya is, see, raga, bhaya, krodha, they're all the reactions of the mind. The mind cannot be totally gotten rid of these things. The jnani also gets angry at the appropriate moment, at the appropriate times. When he sees that something is not right, he may get angry also. Krishna also got angry, even during war. Krishna also left his Sudarshana Chakra, on Shishupala. Krishna also killed. Anger is necessary. Where is it necessary? It does not mean that a jnani or a sthita prajna is a doormat. A sthita prajna will not take everything and anything just because I'm a sthita prajna. Everything's for the body, mind. Anybody can deal with me the way they want. Anybody can talk to me any way they want. Anybody can treat me any. No, that is not the thing. Even a sthita prajna will have the necessary, krodha or anger, which is necessary at a particular point. It is not over, untimely, unnecessary, uncontextual anger is not there. So all his raga is the kamas which are shubha kamas. Wherever it is needed, he has to do it. Kama, bhaya. Wherever there is a bhaya of a legitimate bhaya, even a jnani will have to protect his body. If a dog is running after him, he will also run to protect himself. The fight, flight, and fright response is there in him also. So the bhaya at the level of the mind and the body are there in a jnani also. Krodha, the appropriate demonstration of unhappiness in the form of strictness or anger, whenever it is needed, wherever is needed, in whatever context it is needed, yes, it will be there. A jnani can also censure his bhaktas. A jnani can scold his bhaktas. A jnani can punish his bhaktas. But it is not out of any kind of a feeling of punishing them for that sake. Ultimately, it's for the sake of the spiritual development of the bhaktas. Therefore, Vita Raga Bhaya Krodaha means these people who have legitimate, limited Raga Bhaya Krodha. Vita means without. They are without binding Raga, binding Dvesha, binding Bhaya, binding Krodha. Unnecessary, reactive things are not there. They're all adequate and necessary things whenever they're running. And such a person who is not under the hold of raga, dvesha, and krodha, a person who is in control of his raga, dvesha, krodha, he can use his raga, he can use his bhaya, he can use his krodha for the right purpose at the right time. Such a person is called as a sthita dhihi. Sthita dhihi means again a sthita prajna. And such a person is called as what? Munihi uchate. Another name for sthita prajna or jnani is muni. Muni uchate. Who is a muni? Manana shilaha is muni. Manana shilaha. The one who has contemplated enough. The one who has understood his real nature as aham ananda swarupa atma asmi. Sukha, dukkha, raga, dvesha, bhaya, krodha are all at the level of the body, mind, sense complex, which have to be used appropriately in a proper measure, but they no longer bind him and they become his vibhutis rather than his weakness. All these do not make him weak, they do not make him come out of his emotional self-sufficiency. These are not binding weaknesses for such a jnani. So now we have seen what? How many characteristics of Sita Prajna we saw? Atmanyeva Atmana Tushtaha, number 1. Dukheshu Anudvigna Manaha, number 2. Sukeshu Vigata Sprihaha, number 3. Vita Raga Bhaya Krodaha, number 4. So we have seen the 4 characteristics of this Muni. And when do we understand this? It's only when we are in close contact with this Sthita Prajna, we can see this. Otherwise, we cannot really, say anything. More than anything, these can be used as benchmarking ourselves as to where we are. It is not to benchmark others. It is to benchmark myself. Am I having these Sthita Prajna gunas, lakshanas in me at all? So with this, we'll stop with today's session. Om Nandantu Sadhaka Sarve विनश्यन्तु विदूषकाः अवस्थाशाम्भवी मेस्तु प्रसन्नोऽस्तु गुरुः सदा सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखमाप्नुयात् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।